There's something about Japan that stays with people. Maybe it's the quietness, maybe it's the discipline, or maybe it's the strange feeling that everything here moves fast while somehow making you slow down. The trains arrive exactly on time, people walk with purpose, cities feel alive without being loud. And yet, beneath all of that order, there's emotion everywhere. You feel it in small things. The convenience store, meals after a long walk, silence inside a train, the sound of station announcements echoing late at night. Japan has this way of making ordinary moments feel unforgettable. And I think that's why so many people fall in love with it. Not because it tries to impress you, but because it doesn't have to. This trip started like any other. A train ticket, a platform, another destination. But this time felt different because this wasn't just another city. I was on my way to Hiroshima. There's something surreal about riding the Shinkansen. Outside a window, entire cities disappear in seconds. Mountains pass by quietly. Homes become blurs of light and shadow. Japan moves so quickly. But on this ride, I kept thinking about the past. Because Hiroshima isn't just a place on a map, it's a city the world remembers. On August 6, 1945, the first atomic bomb used in war was dropped here. In a single moment, the city was destroyed. Tens of thousands of lives disappeared instantly. And the people who survived carried scars the rest of their lives, sometimes physical, sometimes invisible. History books tell you the facts, but facts alone never explain tragedy. You can read dates, numbers, timelines, but none of it prepares you for what it feels like to actually stand where it happened. And maybe that's why I wanted to come here. Not just to see Hiroshima, but to feel it. When I arrived in Hiroshima, the first thing I noticed was how normal everything felt. People going to work, students talking to friends, trains arriving, coffee shops opening, life continuing, and somehow that was the emotional part. Because this city had every reason not to exist anymore. Yet here it was, alive, modern, peaceful, human. The tram rides through Hiroshima felt strangely quiet, not because the city was silent, but because my thoughts were louder. I kept looking outside the window, wondering, how do you rebuild after imaginable loss? How does a city recover from being a symbol of destruction? And maybe the answer is this: one day at a time, one person at a time, one generation choosing peace instead of hatred. When I finally reached Peace Memorial Park, everything slowed down. The city noise faded, people spoke softer, even the air felt different. There are places in the world where you naturally become quieter, not because someone tells you to, but because you feel respect without needing instruction. This was one of those places. I saw tourists taking photos, students on school trips, Locals quietly walking through the park, different people, different languages, different lives. Yet everyone seemed to share the same feeling reflection. Because Hiroshima doesn't only tell the story of Japan, it tells the story of humanity, of what people are capable of destroying, and also what people are capable of rebuilding. I think what affected me most wasn't sadness, it was perspective. Back home, most of us are consumed by everyday stress, deadlines, bills, traffic, problems that feel heavy in the moment. And then you come to a place like this, and suddenly life feels fragile, temporary, precious. You realize how quickly everything can change, and how lucky we are to experience ordinary days. To walk freely, to travel, to laugh people we love. Things we rarely stop to appreciate. Hiroshima made me think about how peace is never automatic. Every peaceful morning we wake up to exists because generations before us survived pain we can barely imagine. And somehow that makes this city feel hopeful instead of tragic. Because despite everything that happened here, life continued. Flowers grew again, children laughed again, people fell in love again. The city healed, maybe not completely, but enough to move forward. As I walk through the streets of Hiroshima, I kept noticing how gentle the city felt. Not overly flashy, not chaotic, just calm. Like a city that understands silence. And maybe that feeling comes from memory. Because Hiroshima doesn't try to erase its history, it carries it quietly, not to remain trapped in the past, but to remind people what must never happen again. I think that's why this place stays with people. You don't leave Hiroshima entertained, you leave changed. even slightly, even quietly. After everything, I ended the day at Shukin Garden, and honestly, it felt symbolic because after hearing stories of destruction, I found myself surrounded by peace, still water, carefully shaped trees, soft footsteps on gravel paths. It was beautiful in the quietest way possible. Japan does that really well. It reminds you that beauty doesn't need to be loud. As the day slowly ended, I realized this trip was never really about sightseeing. It became something else. A reminder that cities can heal, that people can rebuild, that even after unimaginable darkness, humanity still finds ways to create beauty again. I came to Hiroshima expecting history, but I left with perspective. Because this city isn't defined by the moment it was destroyed. It was defined what it chose to become afterward. A place of peace, a place of remembrance, a place that quietly tells the world, never again. And maybe that's why Hiroshima feels unforgettable. Not because it makes you look at the past, but because it makes you think differently about the present, about life, about peace, about how precious ordinary days really are. Some places impress you while you are there, but places like Hiroshima stayed with you long after you leave.